Koros, and my background is actually in education. My first degree was in music.
Music?
Yes, I did music at KU.
Okay.
And then after that, I started teaching at a kindergarten called International Montessori, where I got to interact with the Montessori material and the Montessori.
Montessori is like a curriculum as philosophy.
Exactly.
It's not like a school, it's like a philosophy.
It's actually a curriculum set with material. So in fact, the material that you're seeing around here, a number of these items are actually from the Montessori curriculum. Okay. So you cannot have the Montessori system without the curriculum. It comes without the material.
Yeah.
The curriculum goes hand in hand with the material. Yes. Correct. So for example, if you want a child to learn about letters, there are the specific material for teaching letters. One of them is called the sandpaper letters, where you have letters made out of sandpaper, and the child traces on those sandpaper cards. Why sandpaper? So that their mind remembers the touch. So you're making use of their tactile senses. And then also they learn the direction. So they are very specific. So when they are teaching sounds, they use that particular material.
The idea behind the Montessori thing is, what is it like? What's the difference between it and our curriculum?
So what the Montessori curriculum does is they break it down. Every concept is broken down to the individual concept. So let's say, for example, you're teaching about addition. You know, in our days, you go into standard 1, and then the teacher stands at the blackboard and shouts, 1 + 1 is 2. You're supposed to know, you're supposed to know the answer. It doesn't matter whether you understand what 1 is, you don't know whether 1 is an animal or whether it is the teacher next door. You just say 1 + 1. You just say whatever it is, But you have no understanding of what 1 is and what is plus. Who is plus in the first place? I mean, you have no clue as a child, but you just do what you're being told to do. Now, Montessori does not do that. They break down the whole concept of addition to, let's look at the number that you're adding. What is a number? First of all, let's look at the symbol. Can you be able to differentiate a 1 from a 2? Just by looking and being able to see the symbol, leave alone the quantity. Forget about the quantity right now. Can you just be able to tell the difference between a 1 and a 2? And then, now that you can tell the difference, so how can you do that? Maybe they'll have a matching activity. Put all the 1s on this side, put all the 2s on this side. Then you're able to tell, oh, this child can tell the difference. Then now you move to the next step. This one that you put on this side is called 1. Giving it a name. This one is called 2, Because the first part was just, can you tell that there's a difference? Because some children can't tell the difference. They just see all of them and they can't tell the difference. And then being able to name the symbol. Once they've been able to name the symbol, you say, this one has a quantity attached to it. Of course, you don't use such big terminologies. You just teach the child that when this number 1 is equivalent to 1 item. It can be 1 shoe, can be 1 pencil, can be 1 sweet. 1 stands for this quantity. Once the child has learned that, oh, this symbol relates to this quantity, then there is a sign called plus. Plus means you put things together. So you teach the child that whenever you see this sign, it means that you have to put quantities together. But when you see a different sign, the takeaway, it means you're separating or taking away. So because that foundation is so good, the child builds on whatever it is you want to teach later on. First, they have a great understanding. They are not struggling later on, say in those days standard 3, in these days grade 3. They are not struggling with that concept later on in life because they didn't figure out that the minus is different from the plus. And there are children actually who struggle with that symbol. You realize an exam has come, the child thought it was minus or it was plus, so they added everything. Because the foundation was not done well. So the idea of the Montessori system is to break down every concept to its minute concept.
Yes.
So if it is the symbol, it is broken down completely. So addition is broken down.
Yes.
And then you ensure that every concept is fully understood so that it's able to build on a greater concept later on.
So from now the kindergarten, so the kindergarten was which place? The kindergarten?
International Montessori,
yes,
which is close to, it's on Agwins Kodek Road.
Kodek Road. If you were to put it maybe a time frame, when was this?
Quite some time back. Yes. 96.
96?
Yes, 1996. Is when I was at International Montessori.
Yes.
And then thereafter, after having learned how to, that's where I got my training as a Montessori teacher.
Yes.
And then after that, explored into teaching music at Rusinga, which is just nearby.
Yeah.
But the good thing with this is that it exposed me to the British curriculum and getting, an idea of how, they run the school and even how it is taught.
Yes.
Then now I had an opportunity to now go back to being a Montessori teacher at Kavina School.
Kavina School, where is it located?
It's still just off Agwins Kodek Road, but very close.
Area.
Yes, same area.
Okay.
So then after that, we opened our school in 2020, which is Diamond Academy.
You mentioned that before you opened Diamond Academy, you had the same school at Triwa.
Yes, so...
Yes. So when did you start the school in Green Park?
Yes, so, sorry, I think I mentioned a wrong date. In 2010 is when we opened Diamond Academy.
Yes.
And that was a fully fledged kindergarten and primary.
Yes.
From kindergarten all the way up to standard 8.
Yes.
Then when COVID happened in 2020, Diamond Academy closed. And then in 2022, we now opened the therapy center. Yes.
So this is a therapy center.
This is a therapy center. Yes.
So let me talk from the business point of view. What was the inspiration behind? Was it just the passion, or you wanted to make money? What was the passion behind the formation of the school?
So, as I mentioned, in 2020, our school, Diamond Academy, closed because of the challenges that have faced most of the schools during COVID. So, because our school closed, the students that we had to look for other schools. Now, before COVID, we were an inclusive school. We had special needs children. We had a learning support center. So the children who are typical, who don't have any challenges, were able to find schools easily. Yes, and move on to another school. But now the children who had special needs or are neurodiverse really had a challenge. I mean, I had parents telling me, we're moving back to Nairobi, we can't find a school here.
Yes.
That was because children went back in 2021. Yes, but even towards the end of 2021, I was still speaking to parents who are telling me, my child is at home.
There's no school.
My child is not being accepted. I take them to this school, they are not accepted. I take them to this school, they are not accepted.
Yeah.
So I really, for some reason, I just felt very upset.
Yes.
And I felt upset at my friends who were directors. Because I was saying, okay, so you've taken the children who are typical, and then you're refusing these ones.
The ones who are not.
Yeah, who are neurodiverse.
Yes.
Why are you refusing them? Why are you refusing to take them? Yes. I mean, I understand as a school director, you're concerned about mean score, but 844 is on its way out.
Exactly.
844 is on its way out, and number two, if you refuse these children, where are they supposed to
because
go?
Even for them, they deserve education as well. And now you are chasing them away.
Correct.
Where do they go to find education?
And what if it was your child? What would you want for your child?
Yes. So what I'm reading is for you to just a passion, love for the children.
Yeah, I would just say it was not even planned. I didn't plan to get upset, but I did get upset because I was calling the parents to find out, I hope you're okay. I hope you find, and just to find that they are still at home.
Yes.
So as God would have it, one of the parents really followed me up and said, please do something about our special needs children. And then, of course, I was also disturbed by the fact that they've been home for 2 years. If the typical children have already been affected, how much more will the ones who are neurodiverse, how much more will they be affected having been home?
Because now they have bigger challenges than the other ones. Yes. So now, if people are facing a problem, they are doing a bigger problem.
They really regress. They forget easily. So maybe you had trained a child in toileting, they have completely forgotten, they've gone back to diapers. And you just want to cry because you're just thinking, no, you know, I really wanted this child to progress and move on to the next step. So it wasn't a plan to get upset, but I really felt hurt for these children. And I started wondering, what can we do for these children? But I must also admit, there is a particular mom who would not let go. She kept coming back and calling me and telling me, Teacher Rose, do something. And I was telling her, I have no ability to do something because the way schools closed, we were left in such a financial mess. Oh, it was really tough. So I told her, I'm really sorry. I can't. She told me, open, do Mabati, we are going to come. I told her, even Mabati, I can't do. Things are bad. Things were so bad. So now she's a very brilliant lady because she came back and she said, all right, I'll bring my child to your house. Then you won't have to pay. You won't have to pay anything extra. You're already paying rent. So, I mean, this will just be, you know, added income. I'll bring my child to your house. I was like, oh my goodness. She's like that widow who kept knocking at the door and just said, you know, you better open and give me justice. So what we did is we just looked for a small space, the space that we are in right now. It's very, very small. And then now I called this mom and I told her, the most I can do for you is maybe you bring your child like 2 hours a day. Yes. I spend with them, you know, I have some material that I can use with them. I spend with them like about 2 hours, then you go home with them. That was actually the initial idea. The initial idea was to have a place, to provide a place where children can come for about 2 hours or even if it's 1 hour. Instead of staying home the whole day, come for 2 hours, have some snack, maybe eat lunch, go home. Yeah.
So if I may ask, how big is the problem of these neurodiverse children?
Yes.
Are they many? Like, for example, if you look around, if you were to give it a percentage, how many are there? Like, if you were to say, for example, from your experience from Diamond School, if you had to say, okay, among 100 learners, maybe 10%, 5%, 1%, how big of a problem is it?
First of all, let me mention that before COVID, the numbers were few. Yeah. So like out of 10, maybe you would get one.
Maybe one.
Yeah. I have no idea what happened after COVID because now the numbers are astronomical. Because you can find in a class of about 20 children, there are 7 children that are nonverbal. They don't speak. And I'm talking about 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds who don't speak.
Yeah, because even me, I have friends who have the same problem. And
Their children,
it's common,
the children are not speaking.
And now the problem is now, as you say, there are no schools gathering together.
And then maybe you find, apart from the child not being able to speak, they can't settle down, they can't sit. They're up here, jumping around here, you know, they find it hard to actually sit. So sometimes, in such cases, maybe the child has got autism. But you cannot just use only those 2 measures to decide whether a child has autism. There are other measures. There are other measures to be able to tell. But so I would say that there's been a major increase in the number of children who are neurodiverse, and we have no option but to be able to cater for them. Yeah, we have no option.
So from your experience, how about other stakeholders, specifically government? Do you think they're doing enough to cater to their needs? Or
they could do a lot more.
Yes.
Just this morning, I was listening to one of the articles, actually one of the recordings done by, I think, Nation. And yeah, and they were saying that in public schools, one special needs teacher caters to 52 children.
Yes, because for me, when we were growing up, we didn't have even a single teacher. In the villages,
who were special needs? You never?
Never, ever.
Wow.
Like 1,000.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Are they now trying to cater to their needs?
They are trying, but they could do a lot better, because one teacher with 52 children, I can assure you there are a myriad of problems that are happening in that class, and there is no way that a teacher can physically be able to manage 52 special children and meet their needs. She'll just have to, or he will just have to kind of manage the class, make sure no child has gotten lost. You know? Yes, or you are, for those who are able to maybe assist others, you can kind of have prefects and like have a group and just say, you know, you're the one who's a prefect in this group, and there's another prefect in this group and another prefect, and then you work with your prefects to be able to help. But one teacher, 52 children, even if they're typical without a problem, they're already a challenge. I mean, can you imagine marking 52 compositions? And how often do you do? Yeah, exactly. So yes, the government is trying, but they could do more. But I'm also not a very keen, I'm not a keen fanatic of this serikali idea theory. I'm really not a keen.
Why?
Simply because I am the serikali. I need to be doing something.
Okay, maybe the problem is serikali sometimes they go for the cheap things, for the quick wins, maybe on top of the nation.
Probably so, but you know what I feel? I feel that I also need to ask myself, what am I doing?
Yes.
Am I just kind of folding my arms and pointing the finger and saying, serikali saidia, you know, serikali, but I need to be the one doing something. I can do something.
But now that the government can support you as an educator now.
Very true. But you know, even if they don't, yes, they need to set up the structures for me, because there are some things I'm allowed to do because of policy, and there are some things I'm not allowed to do because of policy. So yes, that framework is necessary. I agree. But I think as Kenyans, we can be lazy. And we just keep pointing the finger at, you know, the government needs to, and serikali's idea. But who put that serikali there?
It's us.
Yes. So now, because we put that serikali there with their positives or their negatives, we're going to have to live with that and hopefully try and influence them as much as we can, in whatever way we can, in the right way. But I have a role to play. Serikali does not decide what I do in my house. Serikali does not decide how I run my therapy center and the services that I offer. Serikali does not decide, oh well, they can if they want to, but I have the freedom to be able to reach people on social media and impact them and tell them, look, there's a problem, guys. We need to do something about it.
You can come together and solve the problem.
Yeah, serikali will not stop me from going into the churches and saying, churches, what can we do? They will not stop me from going to the supermarkets and talking to the owners of the malls and saying, do you have the right parking space for yes? Where if I'm a neurodiverse person, or if I have a child who has got autism, when I come in with my trolley, do you have a nice comfortable trolley that I can put my child into that trolley? Maybe they can sit and I can be able to shop.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have such provision?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not a keen fanatic of serikali's idea, but yes, they do have their role to play. I agree, they have their role to play. But you know what I feel? I feel that the power is with the people. If we decided something is going to change in this country, it is going to change.
It can.
But we are so, we make ourselves very helpless. But if all, let's take for example, if all the churches decided we're going to have a stand about neurodiverse children, don't you think something is going to change?
Because in Kenya, church is very powerful.
Yes. If the schools decided We are going to have the next time when we are paying our business license, we are not renewing our business license until this changes.
Until these children can be accommodated.
Yes, even if within the county or within a sub-county, why can't we make our change and then be an example to those around us?
Sometimes even the most impactful change comes from down.
Yeah, but we just keep pointing up because it's easier to do that. It's easier to point here and say the blame is somebody else's and maybe we are not doing anything. I'm not saying there is not a role that the government needs to play its role, but we too have a role to play. Yes.
So from your work, have you ever had some success stories? I mean, if you can tell us, maybe you met a child who had this problem.
Yes.
You're able to move them and they've gone on and do you have such stories?
There are many, which is very exciting.
Yes.
But just to mention a few.
Yes.
I'm going to use their pseudonames because they are. Yes, exactly. So there is one who I'll call my hero. And he's my hero because he came to us, he has autism, and this was before our school closed, before COVID happened.
Yes.
And when he came to us, he was extremely hyperactive, jumping out of the window. We had to close the door, And then he was nonverbal.
Yes.
So when he would speak, he would just go like that. Yes. And then with time, at that time, in fact, we didn't even have a proper learning support center. I just had Montessori equipment in the school, but we didn't have a learning support center as such. And also because we are in Athi River, it was very hard to get specialists to come this way. All sorts of specialists were finding it hard. Whenever you tell them, where are you based? Athi River. Somehow they hear Mombasa.
For some reason.
So they were just like, So it was very hard to get specialists to come this way. But we had, so this hero, my hero was nonverbal. And
so he came in when was that?
4 years.
4 years old.
Yes.
So before that, he had not gone to school?
He was in school.
He was in school?
Yes, he was in school. But he had not, I don't know whether he had started receiving early intervention, like therapy and getting a special needs teacher to teach them. I don't think they had started that. And we didn't have that in the school anyway. But why I say he's my hero is because I also learned quite a lot from him. Children can teach you so much if you're willing to learn. Yes, they will teach you so much. So my hero did not need any permission to come into my office as a school director. He would just bash into my office and come for his hug and now go back to class.
Go back to class.
Yes. And then when we finally opened our learning support center in 2015, and now he started interacting with a special needs teacher, and now I started seeing the intervention. I started seeing a change. He started picking up one word here, one word here. And then he started stringing the two words together and get a two-word sentence. That was so exciting. By the time my hero was in grade 2, he was communicating. I mean, you could hear what it is that he needs or he wants or when he's unhappy. And then he started copying from the board, which was so exciting because he would copy like one word, and even him is so excited that he's copied the word. It's like it's finally happening. So he runs downstairs into my office to show me his achievement.
Yes.
And then I put a sticker, then he goes back up.
Class, yes.
So as we speak, my hero now is about 12 years old. He is one of the top students in his class in mathematics in an IGCSE school. Thank you very much. He performs in plays. He is so eloquent. And the way he carries himself, he is just my pride and joy.
Yes.
And so you can see full well why he is my hero.
I can see. Because that's a very big improvement.
Absolutely, he is my hero.
Yes.
And this hero of mine also leads worship. And when he leads worship, there seems to be something about the gifting that God has given him, because the times when he would lead us in worship, at that time, he had not really picked up, his speech was not very clear. But when he would lead worship, the presence of the Holy Spirit was so evident. There was no doubt about the anointing on his life. There was no doubt.
No doubt.
So then another one came to us when he was 5 years.
Yes.
Had not eaten any solids at all, not even blended food. He was on milk and juice.
Milk only and juice?
Yes.
5 years old?
Yes. So at first, and let me tell you, the other amazing thing is that these children teach you to depend on God. Because now you look up to God and you say, you know what? You're their creator. You're the one with the blueprint. You're the one who knows how this child, please show me what to do.
And in fact, now you start counting your blessings, because now you can see this child they are going through.
Wow. And even can you imagine what the parents have been through?
Yes.
So, so now we started trying, like blended food. But when I say blended food, I mean half a teaspoon. If he could just swallow half a teaspoon of blended food, that would have been enough for us to just say, Lord, we thank you that today he has swallowed half a teaspoon. Because whenever we put that half a teaspoon of blended food in his mouth, he would spit it out. And now this is not a 6-month-old spitting. This is a 5-year-old spitting. So he spits with a lot of with a lot of energy. So when he projects that food, it goes very far. It's not just over here. He really spits it out and it goes very far. So when he started with half a teaspoon, then he goes to a full teaspoon. A year later, as we speak right now, that boy is eating ugali with you just cut the meat into tiny pieces, mix it with skuma. Yes, minced meat is okay, but we want him to also move from minced meat and move him into cutting. Just cut the meat, soft meat, or shred it. And now he's actually eating and not just being fed, but he's also learned to feed himself. I mean, isn't that a reason to just bless God and praise him and to just say thank you?
The ones who have problems maybe with education.
Yes. Some children are struggling with activities of daily living. Toileting, feeding. Can they change their own clothes? Can they wash their hands? Hygiene. So now we also have to deal with that, because the reason our therapy center exists is so that we can help these children to acquire skills that they're going to need in an inclusive setting. Because if they go to a typical school, who's going to help change their diaper in a regular setting? Maybe in a regular setting, it's 20 children, 1 teacher. Maybe, So how will that teacher stop teaching the class to change the diaper of 1 child? You see how challenging that is? So if the child can come to the therapy center, they only stay here for as long as they need to. Once they've mastered their skills, then we say, please, the right place for you to be is an inclusive setting. That's the proper place for that child to be. So what we do is we take them through the activities of daily living, whether it is feeding, whether it is toileting, whether it's a washing of hands, hygiene, dressing and undressing, all of that. So we do that.
Daily living, challenges they might have.
Correct. So now we also address learning challenges. As you can see, there's lots of material around. The way of teaching neurodiverse children is not just the regular way we learned in school, where somebody is at the board, and then lecture method doesn't work very well. They need concrete. You need to move from concrete to abstract. So you have concrete material. If you're teaching them to count, don't start by drawing circles on the whiteboard. They might not know what it is that you're doing there. They just see a nice pattern, but they have no clue what you're doing. But if you want them to count, give them actual material to count, physical material to count. Then now once they've understood, this is what this concept means, then now you can move from concrete and now move to abstract, where they are drawing whatever it's, whether it's a circles or whatever it is. Sometimes some of us learn to draw with sticks or whatever method the teacher uses. So you have to move from concrete to abstract. But apart from just learning with the special needs teachers, we also offer them therapy. So we have occupational therapists And we also have speech therapists that we work with.
Yes.
And physiotherapists, say for example, if maybe a child is struggling with their motor skills, then we are able to also offer physiotherapy. Yes.
So how much does it cost for someone to bring that child?
So we have different rates, because remember, we are not a school. And remember, the main purpose initially was to encourage these parents, please don't keep your children at home. Please bring them, even if it's for 2 hours. So we have a rate for full day. We have a rate for half day. We have a rate even for if you just want to come for 1 hour. We have a part-time rate. So there are different rates for
Monday to Sunday or for Monday to Friday?
Monday to Friday. Yes, Monday to Friday. Saturdays we can open, but our Saturdays are dedicated to assessments. We do educational assessments because if you're able to do an education assessment, you're able to get the recommendation that this child needs. So for example, do they need occupational therapy? Do they need speech therapy? Do they need physio? Do they need the IEP with the special needs teacher? So that's the starting point for them to have an assessment done, so that also we can tell, are we dealing with dyslexia? Is it dysgraphia? Is it autism? Is it CP? So we need to be able to know what condition that child has, and then also the degree or the severity of the condition, and then what are the recommendations for that child.
Nice. So let me talk about, you mentioned God and that Holy Spirit. How important is religion and godliness?
So God is our foundation. Without Him would be nothing, absolutely nothing. And we base our policies on God's word. Our key verse, actually, it comes from the story in the Bible where Jesus healed a blind man, and his disciples were asking him, whose fault was it? You know, why is he blind? Yeah, why is he blind? Is it the mom who sinned? Is it the dad who sinned? And Jesus said, no, it's not the mom or the dad who sinned, but he was born like this so that the work of God might be displayed through him. And you know, as Kenyans and as Africans, we often ask the same thing. We often, and you will find even a couple, if you get a child who's special, it's like, hii ilitoka wapi? Hii ilitoka kwenu. You know, it can't have come from our side. We don't have anybody in our family who has this thing, so it must have come from your side. And yet we forget that God doesn't make mistakes. So when God decides and approves that this child is going to be born, this child is going to be conceived, this child is going to be born, and born with that condition, the child is not born and then God says, what happened there? No, he's not surprised. He had it all planned out, and he has a plan for each and every child. And oftentimes in African settings, you will hear special needs being alluded to witchcraft. That there must be witchcraft in your family, and that's why...
Someone doesn't feel nice about it.
Yes. And that's why your child is like this. However, how comes then we don't allude... let's say you have a condition such as diabetes, and you say, oh, you know, mimi niko na ugonjwa wa sukari. Kwani mnakuanga na madawa huko kwenu? How comes we don't allude diabetes to witchcraft? And yet, special needs is a medical condition. It just means either the brain, there's a part of the brain that was not formed completely, or during birth, a child does not have enough oxygen for a period of time, and their brain is affected.
Even the environment where they are now existing.
Exactly. How comes we don't allude these things to witchcraft? I am not saying that witchcraft does not exist. We know it exists. We know the devil is alive and well. But I feel that we are alluding everything yes, to witchcraft. Every condition, it must be every child who has got special needs, there must be something to do with witchcraft. But we need to now recognize that actually it's a medical condition. And that's why they can get therapy, that's why they can get help, that's why there is early intervention. And that is very critical for us to be able to, to realize.
So in addition to God helping us maybe come to terms with the condition, also throughout the teaching process, we now also rely on His word.
Absolutely.
To bring out the best in the children.
Absolutely. So for example, here at the therapy center, every morning we start with devotion. And one of the things I like saying is, if, let's say, I had some sort of disability, whether it's my hand, whether I can't hear, my hearing might be impaired or my body might be impaired, but my spirit is not impaired. My spirit is not deaf. My spirit is not crippled. My spirit does not have autism. My spirit connects with God's Holy Spirit as He was meant to, as my spirit was meant to, and as the Holy Spirit was meant to connect with me. So why are we leaving neurodiverse children out of worship? Why are we leaving them out of our Sunday schools? Why are we leaving neurodiverse people out of our churches?
In our daily lives.
Yes.
Some parents hide them away, which is not okay.
Exactly. And if we say we are the hands of Jesus, and we are the feet of Jesus, how comes the hands and the feet of Jesus are choosing some and leaving others out? So reach out even to those. That child can worship.
True.
And they don't have to worship in your nice, dignified way. They have their own style of worship, and please, the worship is not about you. They have their object of worship is God.
Exactly.
So if you don't like their style of worship, deal with it.
That's your problem.
That's your problem. Their worship is directed to God our Father. And He's the one who just needs to say, well done. He's the one who needs to receive that worship. So if we can teach our children to love God, if we can teach them the word of God that is sharper than any double-edged sword, it will reach and even bring healing and reach their soul. So their spirit is not impaired. My body may be impaired, but my spirit is not impaired. So let's teach these children to worship God.
Exactly. So thank you so much. I want to have the next session. We go through some of the materials that you have. You mentioned you had some questions to refer to.
Sure. All right then. Okay. All right. So this particular activity helps the children learn how to hold their pencil using 3 fingers. This is called the Pincer Grip, because if they hold it even with the 3 fingers, it might be harder. More than 3 fingers, it might be harder. But if they just hold with the 3, then they are able to press and push the little pegs in. You can also teach this, you can use this activity to teach colors, so that you tell them, pick purple, and they pick purple, and they put purple, or pick yellow. Then once they've finished putting the pegs in, even removing them requires that they use the 3 fingers that they normally use for writing. Again, they'll have to do this. If they try and do this, they still can, but we'll keep insisting that they put back 1 piece at a time. And that will help them strengthen their pincer grip. So that's what this activity is used for. So next, we have the spelling activity. And in this particular activity, the child needs to match the letters. So the child will look for the letter that is similar to the letter that is on the card and match the letters. And then also read the word. So those who are struggling with reading the word can see the picture and be able to read the picture instead. But this is a good one for matching, and it's also a good one for spelling. It's very important to use concrete material. Remember earlier I said you move from concrete to abstract. So if a child is struggling with writing, they can still learn to spell using the wooden alphabet, and then later on they can write their the words that they are spelling here using the wooden alphabet, and use the same concepts and the ideas that they have picked. So here, this is the word pear, and they look for the letters that actually match. It also gives them an opportunity for those children who struggle with the direction of the letter. So for example, if they put R like this, I'll ask them, turn it so that it faces the right direction. Because some children face, especially with the letter P, B, and D, they tend to struggle a lot with these three letters. Some of them tend to confuse the P with the B and the D and even number 9. So this is a good opportunity to ask them to make sure that it faces the right direction. So that's the spelling game, and they love being able to use them. And you can see the material is colorful, so it's attractive to them. I often say to teachers, if the material is not attractive to you, don't expect it to miraculously be attractive to the children. So it's important to use attractive material. Then the other material that I'd like to show you is, this is the map of Canada. And the children are able to learn concepts that would otherwise be challenging in a very fun and easy way. So they're able to pick the parts of Canada and they're able to put them on the map. So first of all, they put them on the control chart, and they can actually do this as they name them. Yukon, then they take British Columbia until they've completed the whole puzzle. Then they can take them back and still name them. So because children love to play, this becomes like a game. And they will use this puzzle today, they'll come back again the next day. So when you have a child using an activity more than once, and there's a lot of repetition, that becomes revision, which is exactly what we want in class. We want the children to be able to revise. But these children are having fun revising because they can come and do it on their own. They can do it as a group. You can even use it as an assessment. If you want teaching, if this was the topic of your class, you can use it as an assessment. So that is the map of Canada. So let's take a look at place value. I particularly like this Montessori activity because the way we learned place value in school was not very friendly. So I would like to start by just showing that these are a string of 10 beads. And let's just ensure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 110. So when the child puts the number there, they're able to put the quantity next to it. Therefore, when you say these are 2 10s, they need to be able to get 2 10s and put 2 10s right next to the number. Then, when you have 10 10s, such as these, so these are 10 of these, which is 100, then the child is able to look for the appropriate number and match it. What if you have 10 of these, 10 100s, which makes 1,000? Again, the child is able to see very clearly that that number is bigger. So I look for my 1,000 here, and they're able to match it. So therefore, even creating a number does not become so hard. So let's say we want to make the number 1,000. Here's my 1,000. 100, I add my 100. And 20, I add my 20. The child is actually able to see the quantity and able to understand that actually 1,000 is more than 100. It's again using the same concept we talked about earlier. You move from concrete to abstract, rather than the way we did it as 844, where the teacher writes it on the board and then asks you, okay, here's the number. This is 1,120. How many hundreds are there? And if you get it wrong, then you're spanked. Yeah, that didn't make much sense to me. But now, if you do it this way, the child can pull the number apart. And then you say, okay, how many hundreds are there in this number? Oh yeah, these are the hundreds. There is 100. How many tens are there? Oh yeah, these are the tens. There are 2 tens. How many thousands are there? Oh, there is 1,000. So it is 1,120. And therefore, they are able to make the number, complete number, 1,120. And they have the matching quantity right there next to it. So you can teach simple concepts, or you can also teach more advanced concepts using concrete material. Concrete material is very important for children who have special needs.
Center early enough. So talk about the importance of early intervention.
I think some are afraid, some are still in denial because maybe they are not so sure that is it really something that needs to be addressed.
Yes.
Or as you might hear a number of Kenyan parents saying, usijali tu ataongea, we mpeleke tu shule. If they just mix with other children,
yes,
the child will be fine. But now the sad thing is that there are times when a child like that,
yes,
just continues with their struggle and with their challenge, yes, from one class to another. Why should we allow such a child to continue suffering and struggling,
yes,
instead of giving them the necessary help that they need? You know, it's almost like saying, if a child needs a crutch, wacha tu atembee bila atazoea hiyo kutembea bila crutch. So the child is crawling, the child is struggling, just give them the crutch that they need. Yes. And early intervention means that first of all, it's important for us to know what condition does that child have. You know, it's just like when you go to a doctor, sometimes you might feel a pain and the doctor might say, you're okay. You actually don't have any problem. Why not go and get that assessment? And if there is no problem and your child is okay, then let the medics actually say your child has no problem.
So the professionals
let the professionals tell you whether whether the child has a problem or doesn't need any intervention.
Yes.
But if they do need intervention, then it's important for them, either they might recommend that you have a special needs teacher,
yes,
or they might recommend that your child gets occupational therapy. Or if they're struggling with speech, they might recommend that you do speech therapy or even physiotherapy.
Yeah.
And the wonderful thing about early intervention is this. Do you know that it is possible to meet some children, for example, like my hero who I mentioned earlier?
Yes.
You will not be able to tell that this young man has autism because he carries with himself with such pride, good pride, very high self-esteem, such a sense of dignity. He is doing so well in his math, but that's because he got early intervention.
Early enough, yes.
But I have met students who are already teenagers, are struggling with their speech, and are struggling with understanding what's going on in class, and that really affects their self-esteem. Please don't wait for your child to be a teen. They're already struggling with trying to figure out, who am I in this world? My friends are laughing at me. I don't even understand why I'm going through what I'm going through.
Exactly.
So in other words, as a parent, that waiting, you've ended up hurting your child by waiting too long.
Especially now for teenagers. Teenagers is usually a very difficult period for them.
But allow me to push that even further, Silas.
Yes.
Your child will not be a child forever.
Exactly.
This child who is 4 now will one day be 14.
Yes.
Will one day be 40. What if they outlive you and they become 80?
Which is true.
And the problem with us as parents is sometimes we feel, as long as I'm there to help my child, but what guarantee do we have that you're going to be there to help your child?
You're older than a child, which means chances are
so
you live here.
So allow your child to develop some sort of independence away from you.
Yes.
And always remember that when we are raising children, whether the child is typical or neurodiverse, you are raising that child to leave your home.
To be independent.
You're not raising that child so that they get married and bring the children back into your house. You are raising that child so that they leave.
Exactly.
And if the child is able to be independent enough, because again, it depends on the severity of the condition. If the child is extremely severe, they might develop some sense of independence, but not complete independence.
But at least
some sort of independence. And do you know that independence really helps this child develop a sense of self-esteem?
Which is true.
They're like, I can go to the washroom by myself. I don't need to always have somebody following me.
Yes.
But let me give you one really sad case. You asked me about my heroes. I've told you about my heroes. Let me tell you about some cases that really, for me, really breaks my heart. I know of an adult who is 40 years old, still in diapers, still needs somebody to change them. Do you see how when you were 4, it was cute?
It was cute, yeah.
But when you're 40, it's not cute anymore.
It's not.
And it takes a lot of strength. You need a good caregiver to be able to give care to that child. And in this particular case that I'm describing, it's simply because the parents felt ashamed, so they hid the boy, and now the boy is a man, and he still has the same challenges that he had. Instead of giving him the opportunity to be able to overcome some of these challenges. So I really want to encourage parents, please try and look for early intervention. And a number of the parents who I speak with say, but it's too expensive.
Too expensive, yeah.
There are solutions.
Yes.
For example, here at the therapy center, we have started group therapy. So you come up like you have about 5 parents.
Yes.
And let's say the therapist wants 2,500. We divide that 2,500 amongst the 5 of us.
Which becomes affordable now.
So when I'm coming with my child, I'm only coming with 500 bob.
Yes.
But now what this therapist will do, they will also teach me some of these activities that I can do with my child at home. So I don't just bring the child to you, but you show me. Yes, teach me. And we are very keen about empowering parents, by the way. Our therapy sessions, we normally take short clips and short videos.
Yes.
We want to tell the parent, you are the first expert for this child. You're the one who knows your child the most, not us who are strangers.
By the way.
So you need to be empowered. So I feel heartbroken when I hear a parent saying, oh, I've been doing therapy now for a year or 2 years. And I say, oh, and what exactly has the therapist been doing? Me, I don't know. They just go inside that room and then after an hour they come out. And I'm thinking, but who's paying?
Who's paying?
if you're paying, I think you need to ask some questions. You need. Yeah, like what exactly are you covering with my child? What are the objectives, And are you seeing any difference? If you're not seeing a difference and you're paying, then what's the point? You need to ask some questions. Yes. So we need to empower parents. Parents need to start asking questions. Parents need to be shown that I can actually manage this child. Yes. God gave me this child, and it's not the teacher to go handle that child. I can actually manage this child. All I need are just some few skills here and there. And here we work together as a multidisciplinary team. So the occupational therapist will give you some ideas. Here, Mama so-and-so, try this. Baba so-and-so, try this. Speech therapist will give you some ideas. And you see, you're also taking the video clips. So you're taking the video clips home and you're able to see, this is what my child did. Even me, I'm going to do this with my child. If it's picture reading, I'm going to do picture reading. If it's telling the child, look at the way my mouth is forming when I say, ow, do exactly what I'm doing. Yes. These are things that we can learn as parents, but we are very keen on the parent needs to be empowered.
Nice. Thank you so much for that. Now tell us more about the motto of the school and the vision and the mission that you have.
So our motto is Kenya ni nchi yetu pia.
Yes.
And
so Kenya is our country as well.
This is our country as well. Yeah. So let's stop this thing of saying, these children should just go and be taught in their own place. There is a place for pulling the children aside and for them to have one-on-one learning. That, yes, I admit. But they need to be included in as many activities as possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's say the children are playing during break time. What stops you from including that child?
From the play, yeah.
Even if the child is in a wheelchair, there is a way of including that child during the playtime. Instead of saying these ones who are, are impaired in one way or another should just go and be on their own. Now here is the rationale, Silas.
Yes.
This child who is, remember I said the child will not be a child forever.
Which is true.
So they are a child now. One day this child will be an adult. Which special world
is going to
are they going to? Because they've been in special schools all along. Yes. They've not been included all along. Then now they're of working class. Yes. And we are the ones who are making people more disabled than they really are. It is us who are typical, who are increasing their disability. Why? Because we didn't include them when they were young. So therefore, we did not give these children an opportunity to become contributing members of society.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also we are denying ourselves the opportunity of finding out the gifts that God has given some of these children. If I give you one example, we have a child who, when they came in, they are about 3, but now about 4. We were only teaching one letter, one number, because we keep repeating it until they master it. This little boy, when we would sing the songs about the sounds, we normally use Jollyphonics songs. So when we would play it, Jollyphonics is a way of teaching reading and teaching sounds and teaching reading. Yes. So they have specific songs. Every sound has a song to it. So if you're teaching the letter A, there is a specific song that you use. So we would play this song on a daily basis. And this boy, instead of doing the actions that we were doing, so for example, if we're singing ants on my arms, instead of him doing the actions for ants on my arms, his finger is in the air doing something. We used to see like he's scribbling. We're wondering, what is he doing?
Yes.
Do you know that this boy learned how to write the whole alphabet without us teaching him in one term?
Wow.
The boy is gifted. I mean, even those of us who are typical, we don't learn the whole alphabet in a term without being taught. He's writing it in the air. How do we know that he actually knows how to write it? One day when we were singing the songs, we gave him a blackboard and some chalk. He wrote all the letters A to Z, and for every letter, he would write the capital and the lowercase. Capital, and lowercase. Now, what we do with this boy, while the others are still learning the one letter that we are still teaching them, we've already moved him over to worksheets that are more advanced. We give him all the letters. We're like, just write them all. So, do you see, we as typical people are denying ourselves the gifts that these children have. This is a child who is gifted and talented. That's a gifted and talented child. You don't teach them and then they learn on their own. That's a gift. But we are denying ourselves these gifts by thinking that they are unable. Yes, but they are very able, and some of them are extremely gifted, extremely talented. Like my hero, would you ever have known that he'll top maths one day? There he is, leading in maths and very eloquent. Yes. Yes. So we are not, neurodiverse people are not second-class citizens. They are not second-class citizens. Yes. They have the same rights as every other person. Whether they have a need or don't have a need, they are first-class citizens like everybody else and need to be treated as such. They are our VIPs.
So thank you so much. So now if there's anyone who wants to know where you're located, to contact you, how can you get reached?
So we are located in Mlolongo, in an estate called Valley View Estate. And if you need to reach us, our number is 0716 852 168. Our number is 0716 852 168.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Asante sana.
We are so thankful.
Thank you so much.
Asante sana.
All right then.